Welcome to the First Turn. I am Hyena.
I'm Llama.
And today we're back talking about some more Warhammer stuff. We are again doing our face-to-face here
Yep.
for the foreseeable future. We've got some news and whatever, and some topics to talk about, I think, today about the hobby in general. It's something I want to kind of talk about. When we were, covering the last few weeks, a little bit of rumors and the topics of rumors and leaks and kind of the logistics, I guess, of how leaks, especially credible ones, are maintained without being plugged, filling that hole. How do leaks consistently happen, and what's the ramifications of it? What's the the consequences? For the community and for the people who are doing the leaking and all that stuff. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit because I have some thoughts that I've been kind of thinking about for a little while. Because I guess we can start with that.
Okay.
The whole concept of like getting information ahead of time, I think, it's a great tool for getting buzz, right? For getting excitement, for getting hype out there about a product. But when things aren't ready, we know that timelines get pushed, products get canceled. We've seen kind of evidence of certain projects, especially from Games Workshop, just getting scrapped before they've ever been released. Look at we've got Dark Water coming out here soon, but the one before that was Curse City. Curse City was kind of a mar on the record of Games Workshop, because they, for a long time, they refused to address it. They refused to acknowledge that there were issues. They pivoted and released a bunch of the expansions for Curse City as just standalone releases, which was kind of weird. And they refused to acknowledge that was the case, whether it was production, whether it was resource allocation, whatever it was, right? Whatever the problem was that they ran into, they didn't acknowledge there was even a problem for well over a year, right? Super strange. But we've got a few pretty reliable leaks that we kind of are able to find on the internet there that consistently have the real information, right? Or it might be a little cryptic. We might have to decipher it a little bit. Either because the information isn't clear to whoever's receiving it, or maybe someone doesn't know what they're looking at, and so they have to describe it. We have to decipher, kind of what they're talking about. Sometimes it's bare plastic, and we don't have a game locked down for which system the model will be for and stuff. So there's some cross lines, right? But as you had said, there, kind of off camera here, we were talking about kind of the consequences of when you are an employee of somewhere and you are revealing information ahead of time. What are the consequences of that, right? Surely, if you were to leak a trade secret of some kind from any other company, you'd be fired and potentially have lawsuits brought against you. I'm sure there are, disclosure agreements that they have to sign that says they're not going to spoil this information, from the warehouses all the way up through to, the marketing, right? People who are making the production, who are producing the materials to the packaging, the artists who are painting the models for the box arts, the photographers, like all of that can't talk about it.
Nope.
And yet we still get the information out. It's like, how does that happen?
Yeah. And listening to somebody who, I guess, used to work in their marketing department, talked about even how a lot of those people who are in that department are the ones who publish articles in White Dwarf and on the Warhammer community website and in social media. And so they have very particular incentives. Like, their posts generate clicks, generate magazine buys, etc., and that's a part of their incentive structure. And so those individuals don't want whatever they're going to publish to get leaked out, because if whatever is actually going to be in their article going to be in their photos and whatever gets leaked, they don't get anything for it because now it's leaked and GW has to themselves come in and like confirm a leak or whatever. And that just costs them. So they don't, and they talked to this individual, talked a little bit, I won't use his name, but talked a little bit about the process. And it just doesn't seem like it comes from them. So as far as it being controlled leak for marketing purposes, those individuals wouldn't do it because it's of no use to them. But I don't know if that actually means Games Workshop doesn't themselves purposefully slip other information out. But then is it really a leak, right? Or is it their alternate attempt at a marketing strategy? I guess what I always wonder is, and then we've heard also that heads roll when stuff like this happens. If someone leaks information and they weren't supposed to, just like you talked about, you're out, right? You've compromised some sort of integrity or company policy. But as long as I can remember, going back to the days of Warseer and Portent.net and early internet forums where we would get rumors, Daka was another one. We've had this happen. There have been a handful of individuals, usually only anywhere from 2 to 5 total people, who have this really rock solid information, and they don't always they don't talk much, and they're sometimes cryptic. But then a lot of times their stuff ends up dead accurate. And we're seeing some of that. So the information's getting to them somehow.
Right. And I mean, it's kind of like when there are information embargoes, right? When a product is sent to a content creator early and they can work on it and they can say, hey, I'm working on something new. And then, one day shows up and you see a million different articles and videos posted about the same thing. Right, the embargoes are there to create a barrier for information to be kept secret. Right, like it prevents it from getting out too early. That kind of a situation, it kind of that makes sense, right? You make an agreement. Here's the thing: we're going to continue to do this as long as you don't get the information out. But that's typically like product in hand. We've got the stuff. You could literally show off the new thing early. Yep, big problem. But just like the spoken word of like, hey, this stuff's coming, is a whole different kind of thing, right? Like you can't like keep the idea secret. Like we all know what we want for these armies. We all know what kind of updates we want to see, but just saying, hey, this stuff is coming, we're talking about it, it isn't really spoiling the actual thing, right? No. I mean, it's, to me, I see that as like a pretty useful tool, in fact, to say, hey, there's more stuff coming for this army, look out for it. And then when the article drops or you see, someone say, hey, did you see the new thing? I mean, that's going to go generate more clicks, right? Because now you're excited to go see the thing that you've been hearing about. I don't think that spoils it where it's like, hey, we're getting new Cities of Sigmar stuff. They're like, oh, cool, that's awesome. Hey, there's new article about Cities of Sigmar stuff. And they're like, I already heard about that. No, you want to go see it. You want to go read the article that is posted. And I think it drives more people to go read about it because we've already heard about, heard about it coming. So I don't know if like, I kind of wonder what the extent of the like, well, you don't get these incentives. Is it literally your actual work has been leaked? Or is it like the idea that you're writing about has been rumored? Yeah, and leaked,
I would have to guess, and it's just that a guess, is like when one of those potato or pixelated pictures comes out that's actually going to end up in an article or in a White Dwarf, and that's what gets leaked. That was someone in that department writing that article, putting it together, and then that actual bit got leaked. That's probably what hurts them, or at least GW doesn't grant them the incentive then. But just the spoken word about rumors, that I feel like is probably always going to be fair game. Because that's what some of it is. Even the reliable rumor mongers sometimes just come in with a, hey, here's a cryptic tweedledee, and then they'll use some real name that ends up being confirmed later.
And as long as that's the case, I mean, I think it's fine, right? Like, hey, someone snapped a photo of your magazine article and the pictures in it. Like that feels bad that it got leaked and you don't get incentive for it. Yeah. Or, like, someone publishes an article too early and spoils it. It's like, yeah, that's an oopsie. You're right. We had to pull that article So all the clicks you got on that article that was published early, like they don't count. Like I get that kind of thing, right? Like all that kind of makes sense. But just like, hey, someone stole your information, took a photo of your screen, something. Oh, now you don't get a bonus. It's like, that sucks. That feels bad.
Yeah. And I don't know,
it's like, and we don't want people going to that extent to provide a little bit of advanced information, right? Like we're talking weeks early. I mean, that's not that important. I mean, months, probably not years, but like months early. Yeah, it's still the case, but it's like, we don't want it going to that length. Like I'm perfectly fine theorizing about stuff coming and hearing like whispers of things coming and like blowing that up. But the other concern we had wasn't just about like the creators themselves, but also the kind of the buildup that the community gets from it, and both the excitement and the disappointment when things either do or don't work out. And I think that's a moot point. I don't give a shit about that at all. If you blow up expectations of your own, and then you're disappointed, you're let down because you got information you weren't supposed to have, that's on you, man. You know, like I don't think rumors and whatever need to stop because people can't manage their own expectations.
No, and that's a big one, is like, so someone was like, oh, rumors generate hype and some people love that part of the hobby and whatnot. It's like, yeah, sure. I like rumors. I don't like when article pictures get leaked. So what I like is, like, with this Nurgle release coming out, both for Quest, Darkwater, and Maggotkin, outside of a very granulated picture of the Quest board itself, like we had rumor information, but not like pictures. And I like that because then it made me think about what they could look like. Which of these is just wish listing? Is the information they're providing us for Old World and not for Age of Sigmar? Because now it's easy to get everything crossed up. And so that's fun. I think that's fun. And then once the real information drops and we can confirm or deny, I love that. Always have. But when the community gets their expectations to a place, and then that expectation's not met, and then they blame Games Workshop for failing or disappointing or pulling the plug on a thing, right? We heard that a lot in the last year when like a convention didn't have a preview event like they thought, even though GW never confirmed there would be one. And we felt, but like, that's like managing like Games Workshop can't do that. They can't manage your expectations for you, and nobody should really be punished for a community expecting the wrong thing and then it turning into a game of telephone and they blow it up into something it's not. And that could easily be happening with such a huge list of stuff, particularly for Age of Sigmar coming, is people could be, the first rumored trickle might have come out, but it's very vague for, let's say, ogres. And we know that they're going to get a significant release, apparently. I think even Games Workshop said they've got a... But if that first information came out and was kind of vague, but then people themselves have taken it and mutated it into a combination of wish listing plus, and then that thing doesn't come out, that's not Games Workshop's fault. And it doesn't mean they changed their mind. It was like the community just set their own expectations in the wrong place. And then it becomes this big negative. I don't know. I'm not saying
I agree. I mean, I agree with that. It's like you blow it up yourself and then you're disappointed. It's kind of silly. Like we know going into these rumors and these whatevers that we know that any of this can be wrong.
Yep.
We know any of it could be misinterpreted. We know any of it could be years away. We know any of it could be scrapped between now and then. Yeah. Any of that could, like I'm pretty sure that there are plenty of examples of models coming out that were pivoted before they're released because they were meant for somewhere else. And then they came out and the actual iteration that we saw, clearly the inspiration or the intent was somewhere that they didn't end up. Like we've seen that kind of thing happen, right? I'm sure that kind of stuff is potential in the future, right? Like it's going to happen again. Like we might see, because we had rumors of Old World getting mammoths and dragons and stuff for Chaos. We could see them say, well, actually, we'd rather put them in a market that maybe is selling better,
like Dark Oath,
in a form, like how Dark Oath is. Because a lot of people who were looking at those Marauders that came out for the Old World, I know I saw a lot of comments were like, those look like they'd be a great addition to my Marauders for my Dark Oath, right? Alternate sculpts, mix them with the units, create some. I mean, the two games always have a back and forth, right? Because they are so similar. I mean, and honestly, I think proxying. I hate to call it proxying because you're not like taking a Mantic model or something like that and using it in Age of Sigmar or in the old world. You're using it for another GW system and converting it and using it in place of an existing model.
Yeah,
right?
It's conversion.
I mean, it's conversions and creating visual interest and distinctions between your models by using models from other lines. I think is all of that is fair game, and I think it makes it more interesting, honestly. You want to play the thing, but you don't fancy the model that is provided. You create your own, and you make it unique. I think that's awesome. I love that. But like I said, we could see even some of those rumors like that, where we're like, "Yep, Norska's coming. Whatever's coming, you're gonna get your ice dragons. You're gonna get your Fimir. You're gonna get your mammoths. You're gonna get a new Trug. Whatever whatever the thing you're getting for Chaos." That's rumored. I don't know if any of those things are rumored. I would think of like the Total War Norscan roster. We could get all those. We could get none of those. They could pivot it. They could say, well, we actually want these monsters over here. We still have rules for Chaos Dragons. You can use this Chaos Dragon in the old world. Whatever. I mean, we could see any of that kind of thing happen. I know we're a little disappointed. That's like, oh man, monsters in Warriors of Chaos could totally be substituted for monsters in the actual Slaves of Darkness. That army needs more monsters. It has none. Right. Or the two monsters it has that are generic monsters are like, they shouldn't be in that army, in my opinion. But no. I mean, I guess technically some of the Warcry stuff are monsters, like the Sphinx and the Ogroid, the one with the rocks.
Oh,
I think those are technically monsters, but they're this big. They're not monsters. I don't think they count.
Well, yeah, and the army has like an entire way to play with monsters. If you take what is it?
I mean, they've kind of veered away from that a little bit. That detachment isn't as monster heavy as it used to be, but you still want to take like demon princes and you still want monsters in that list.
Mm-hmm. It's
just not as like you have to have monsters anymore. I mean, but still, it's like you are kind of enabling a way to play around monsters, and it just doesn't. It's not really possible unless you bring 7 demon princes like that.
Yeah, you got to spam one thing. It was like the old Flyrant list, or you got to bring models that are in other armies and don't look good anyway. So I don't know. I've also heard rumor of a new plastic Chimera. Because that's an old one. Yeah. But again,
I saw in the rumor list we had two, by the way, speaking of rumors, there was also going to be a Chimera ridden by a mage for Age of Sigmar.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's it's kind of over like again, like we said, it's like the overlap, and it could be for any system. It could be for all of them. It could be for none of them. We don't know. They're so similar.
Yeah.
That it's hard to pinpoint where they're going to be.
They've separated the aesthetic, but I think the average person still just sees them both as fantasy, and so. It's easy to, I think if rumor mongers aren't super thorough or the information is shielded even from them, I think it's hard to guess where it belongs. Just like now with Horus Heresy and 40K crossovers. I've heard 3 things as far as the Cog Fort, speaking of Cities of Sigmar. I have heard that it's going to be a piece of faction terrain. I have heard that it's going to be a standalone war machine. And then I heard a third thing that was like it might be its own small version of a game or something. Yeah.
So insane.
So who knows what the hell that's
I've heard it might be a regiment of renown that can be taken for any order army. It's like, what? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think bottom line, people do not know.
No.
It's such a weird thing that like making it faction terrain, I think would suck.
Yeah.
I think most faction terrain needs to be impactful. It needs to cost points again. I don't like that they're free. I really don't. Because again, you have this issue with here are 2 pieces of faction terrain that are very, very similar, but one is just better than the other, and they're both free.
Yeah.
So it feels bad to take one when the other one exists. for a different army.
I know
that kind of thing.
I heard someone say that Games Workshop does have a goal that every faction will have their own endless spells or prayers,
Sure.
and their own faction terrain. I think before the end of 4th edition was that every faction would finally have that.
I was thinking about it. We got a silhouette from an announcement article of the
Grotmas calendar.
No, was it the Grotmas calendar? I thought it was the Warhammer Opens had like a splash photo that had like a silhouette in the background. Was that the Grotmas one?
Might have been the Grotmas announcement.
No, the Grotmas calendar. Yeah. The one I sent you, the Grotmas calendar, where it's like a big something in the background, which could be a cog fort, could be a bashed orc terrain piece, could be the Grots, Winter Village, right? Because he's supposed to be like Santa Claus. Maybe that's the Red Gobbo's workshop. I don't know, something. I was thinking about that too. But one of the rumors too was speaking of like endless spells and terrain and stuff like that for every faction. The one rumor we had for Tzeentch was a piece of terrain for them that was the Silver Tower.
Oh, okay.
So if you think back to when the Warhammer Quest, the first one came out, it was called Silver Tower, and it's still used as a mechanic for deep striking from the Gaunt Summoners.
Right.
They're masters of the Silver Tower. And it's like not really a pocket dimension, but it's like a citadel stashed in a secret place, and they warp in demons and their forces and stuff from the Silver Tower.
Yep.
It probably looks wild considering the kind of direction they're going with Tzeentch lately. I could see it being a big, impressive, towery sort of piece of terrain like that too. Maybe not that picture because again, it looks very steamy. I mean,
ramshackle.
Looking more at it looks orky. I doubt that's the cog fort with like a shack and a steam stack, but it could be.
Yeah, that looks very orky, whatever it is.
Yeah, but again, it's like that's the right level of reveal and speculation and rumor that we want, right? We'll get confirmation down the line, but I mean, if it were like, oh, well, we found this, I work at a warehouse that's printing these white dwarfs that has these photos in it. Here's a snapshot of it. It's like that's bad. Don't do that. We're not condoning that. We're not asking you to do that. We don't care that much that you have to like steal, intellectual property. Like we don't need that.
No, and it's still nice to be surprised. Like, yeah. It's funny as long as I can remember rumors on the internet in the Warhammer world, people always claimed like, oh, they should just tell us what's coming because it'll generate all this hype, or then we could save money for it. It's like if you're not saving money anyway, you're never going to. So that's the first thing. Two, generate all this hype. It's like, no, we see what happens. Like we're in an era where everything's hot and then cold as fast as it was hot. And so I think if you give too much lead time on some information, like solid information with pictures and everything, people are excited when they see it and they have maybe a week or two of the can't wait for it. And then they're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And then by the time it comes out, like, oh yeah, that.
We do get a lot, right? Nowadays we get a lot. And so, back in 4th, 5th edition, when it was a mysterious release every 3 months. Yeah, it was exciting to see a new thing.
Yeah.
But now it's like we have a new thing being released literally every single week. They've lined it up so that there's this rolling release window of 3 weeks prior, about it, 2 weeks prior, you can pre-order it, 2 weeks it comes out, and then in those 2 weeks, another thing came out the week before, another thing will come out the next week. You get, like it's this ever-turning cycle of releases, and they have to maintain that 52 weeks a year. And like it's a lot.
And now it seems that at least with their core games, their mainline games, they're going to be on new edition cycles every 3 years. Every faction is going to get touched every edition. So, yeah, they can't. I don't know. It's such a steady stream of stuff. I don't know what more people could want from that.
I mean, I would love to have an official roadmap of saying this is our general timeline. Within the next year, whatever, this is generally the order we're going to be doing things in. I'd love to hear from them something like that. right? Because like right now we don't really know besides Nurgle.
One of the because one of the last roadmaps we remember they showed Space Wolves way far out.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden the Space Wolves came out.
They weren't even on it, I think. Space Wolves were nowhere, and it was just like all of a sudden, boom, here they are.
Yeah, and so some stuff clearly got shuffled around for some reason. So maybe they just try to avoid kind of promising the community, here's what's coming when.
I think they tried to do that last time, right? When we did get that roadmap, it was like, here's what's coming out imminently. Here are 4 things that are coming out soonish.
Yeah.
That we're not giving you an order for them. And then here's 3 or 4 things that are down the line, right? They're trying to like be more vague about it. And then they couldn't even stick to the vagueness, right?
No.
They threw something new in. So it's like, yeah, maybe they can't commit to when they want to do things, and they don't want to put something out there on paper saying this is the order we're going to do because we can't stick to that. Which I get.
Might just be really hard to stick to. And then I don't know. And then Legions Imperialis. So that was one I just looked at. They announced the pre-order, right, for a bunch of that stuff. All the Saturnine, which that was a rumor that Legions Imperialis is going to get a big expansion with all the Saturnine stuff, and then here it is just a few weeks later. I wonder how much of that is they can do rapidly because there's still production required, and how much of that they have done already and have an idea of when they want it, but then if something changes, they have to, like the Space Wolves, you're right, they weren't on whatever that last 40K roadmap was we saw. And then all of a sudden that many models just dropped in early.
Right.
So I wonder how long they sit on some of it.
In addition to a kill team coming out with it too. Like it was, yeah.
It is a neat way to expand an army 2 or 3 ways. Like with Maggotkin, we're seeing that right now. Which a game that you and I talked about for like a year that Games Workshop didn't, Warcry. From the sounds of things, this Eshin and Cities of Sigmar 2-player thing or whatever is going to revolve around Spearhead.
Right. I'm of the opinion that they scrapped Warcry in place of Spearhead.
I think so too.
Spearhead as a smaller, quicker game mode. I don't think it's as it's different enough from Warhammer Age of Sigmar for it to be called an alternate game, right? Like it's AOS light because you don't list build. It's AOS easy mode. It's not a separate game, and calling Spearhead like its own game, it would be inaccurate. Warcry very much was a different game.
Yep.
Right. It had different stats. It had different, game flow. It had a different structure. It had different list building. Like it had all kinds of other things. I'm of the opinion that they scrapped a lot of releases in exchange for this mode, and maybe some of those things we rolled into the game through other methods. Right. The Caradron balloon guys. I'm pretty sure those were probably a Warcry designed unit, and they were scrapped and just put into Age of Sigmar. They look too weird and too different and too dynamic to have been designed for the game, especially considering we already have those kinds of units already. It was kind of duplicate. I mean, that was a weird one, right? And we've been saying for a long time that I think Eshin would have been perfect for Warcry as like a warband to be a way to bring them into the game.
Yeah.
To give them an update outside of the normal release cycle. I think that's what we're getting here. They're finally coming out.
Well, and I think they're going to then give, starting in 2026, Spearhead its own release cycle or its own release slots in the cycle, and that will be their way for Age of Sigmar to expand armies or update an old unit, and you put it in the Spearhead.
What I don't want to see is units exclusive to the Spearheads that are not like available in the main game. Like I don't want to see a Warcry unit get reimagined and re-released as part of a Spearhead, and it's a Spearhead exclusive. Like that would feel really, really bad. I don't want to see that. Because like I said, it's not a different game. It's a light game mode. Having unique units to the light game mode kind of defeats the purpose as like an introductory version of the game. You know, like you can stay small, but really it's a gateway to the bigger game.
Yeah,
Don't make the things you bought for the light version of the game be invalid in the main game.
I'm okay with Underworld's warbands not being available in Age of Sigmar.
I know.
But you're absolutely right with Spearhead. So it's same with like Kill Team, right? It was like they'll release Striking Scorpions and Kill Team, but it's like they didn't. And then we're like, okay, yes, they'll also be in 40K. As long as they keep that up, I'm fine with whatever they want to do with Spearhead.
Right.
And we've seen Spearhead be popular, where there were individuals even around the local game store where they would not get into a proper miniatures game that required, $1,000 investment, but Spearhead they were all about, and they were playing regularly every week.
Yep.
It's also on the hobby side such an easier bite to take when you see
you're looking at what 20 to 40 models total.
You got this one box of models to assemble and paint. It doesn't matter how you assemble them because they all have a static set of rules in the game, so they're not necessarily even WYSIWYG. And so for the hobbyist, I think that's super rewarding, low investment. The game's easy to learn. And they're going to keep doing seasons of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the releases they had lined up and maybe didn't know where to put them, or stuff they were going to do for Warcry but backed out, will now end up in these Spearheads.
Right.
And that's a quick way to expand an army too. If all of a sudden next year it's like, well, we really think insert army needs a little more. Their book's not due until whenever. Well, here's a Spearhead we can drop the new unit in.
Mm-hmm.
And just include AOS rules. I don't know. That might be a way to do it.
I think the Underworld warbands have a place. Not like current season Underworld warbands, but like we've seen that like the earlier seasons get rotated out and they stop producing them and they stop having rules or being competitive in the newer season. I think that's a perfect opportunity to say, hey, well, because they got rolled out, we're going to release a generic version of this unit. Because they've done that a few times, right? They've got the Lizardman one, which wasn't that old. It's like 3 Saurus. They got put into Age of Sigmar for Seraphon as a like hero unit, akin to like, Gunner Brand. It's like a character unit or Neve, like that style. Like, I don't think there's a problem with that.
Nope.
Just don't make them active in both games at the same time, right? Because I think that's a great way to bolster an army too. Like Skaven Pestilence lost their foot plague priest for some reason. They cut him, even though it's in the current Screaming Bell kit. You can make a plague priest on foot. They even provide you a base that says, "Hey, whichever one you don't build on the thing, here's a base for them to build on foot."
Yeah.
They cut it. Insane. That's a weird thing to do. But that unit provides a cheaper option for a priest if you want to play Pestilence, to be able to have some actual foot priests and not have them cost 300 points minimum, to bolster that army. That's good. I like that. So I think every army could kind of use some of that because they've all got warbands that have been rotated out that fill a purpose that they're not, that they don't have something for,
Well, and the rotated out warband now does nothing for any game.
Right. Exactly.
It's just sitting there. And it's not even like they're that old. So I like the idea of character units. Like what was weird to me, and maybe they'll scrap this in the future, was like when they would port, let's say, a Warcry warband or an Underworld's warband over to Age of Sigmar, and it was like made up of light, super easy to kill, 1 health units.
Yeah.
And then it was
Can't
like
be reinforced. Like,
can't be reinforced
really weird.
0 to 1 or something. It's like, what the hell is this? But if you make them a neat little character unit that's like cheap, and they just have some slightly unique rules over, like when you take the really weird looking Tzeentch one that's like something out of Pan's Labyrinth or whatever, and you put that unit in and it has different rules than a regular Tzeentch sorcerer or a regular Zangor shaman. And like, well, now that's neat. Now there's this maybe 200 point little package that a Tzeentch player could buy if it does something different for the army. And it's not a huge investment. Underworld's warbands are not that expensive.
Right. And you publish it and you produce it and you make it available. So it's not like gate kept behind an out of production kit. You know, because that was kind of the risk before us. It's like, well, we're not making our first edition Underworld warbands anymore, so we don't want them to have rules because people can't get them.
Yep.
Well, you're re-releasing all this stuff, and you're reproducing all this stuff, making it available. Give us rules for them. You know, let us have a reason to buy them and let us use them.
Yeah, we can't play it in the
That's where
game
I'm
they're
at.
originally designed for, so let's put them in Age of Sigmar. That I can see. Yeah, I don't think there'll be any exclusive to Spearhead units. I hope not. That would.
Yeah, me too.
Because again, you're right. Spearhead is not a. It's just Age of Sigmar light. Like Kill Team is kind of 40K light, although a little different. But
yeah,
I don't know. We might get lucky, but I could see there could be a chance. By the way, that the timing of all of it with the launch of AOS 4 is why we went like a year basically with very little. You know, impactful releases. They were reshuffling this all around and changing stuff to Spearhead and whatever. And so maybe this 2026 is going to be a massive Age of Sigmar year.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, with the number of rumors we have, if that all comes out in 1 year, that's pretty hefty.
That's big.
Right? Like 4 or 5 army updates, essentially.
And they're not small. Again, and ogres,
dwarfs, cities, Ossiarch medium, Daughters of Cain medium. What was the other one?
Sons of Behemoth had new stuff.
Sons of the Behemoth getting a new character. I mean, that's huge. That's increasing your roster by 17%. Ashen, cities. Like, I mean, 5 armies here are listed as being like, oh, these are pretty substantial updates. 4 of them are big, 3 of them are medium. Because like Lumineth is supposed to get something big too.
Well, look at Lumineth getting something big wouldn't surprise me. Like if they went the Tyrion route or something. But like, look at how many releases Horus Heresy got this year. Now, granted, they had a new edition, but that was like what we're talking about. It was like 4 or 5 significant waves of stuff, and then they're just getting literally everything that was ever in Forge World is at some point being ported to plastic and sent out when there's a random pre-order week. Legions of Imperialis the same way. And so the other games kind of suffered in the wake of, but they might do that. You might have, with what it sounds like for 40K 11th and with this AOS stuff, that might be just a jam-packed year of pretty big releases. Never disappointing.
I'm excited. Like, so it's to the point now where I'm having to start thinking about like, oh shit, well, 4 of those armies of the 7 that are getting updated, I kind of want. Where am I going to put this stuff? Like, I'm kind of right into that position.
I've even heard distant rumors of expansions already planned for Hellsmiths. Now, there weren't details about what those were, but they think it's kind of akin to how Lumineth went, where they got a chunk of stuff and then like a year later got another chunk of stuff. And that's a really cool way to not put too much in people's faces at once, because no one can afford to buy all of that if too much stuff comes out. And to make sure the roster doesn't suffer from what the original Fire Slayers suffered from, and still kind of do, where a new army comes out, never really gets expanded. So I like the idea of maybe do 2 or 3 waves.
I think maybe they thought Fire Slayers was going to be a bigger hit than it was. But then Chaos Dwarves are released, and they kind of do a similar thing to both what the classic dwarves do and the Fire Slayers. And so they're like, well, if we want order version of this, we need to drastically change it because we're kind of overlapping here. Well, and they are,
Caradrons are a very unique take on dwarves, and I love it. And but then people still always wanted in a fantasy setting a classic, and you talked about it for like 3 years now, like hold dwarves. And well, the Hellsmiths kind of did that. They still live in mountains and they still have grudges and they still forge their shit. And it's like, so I think you could be right. I think naked dwarves with axes versus naked dwarves with other axes versus naked dwarves with 2 axes, which is all the Fire Slayers were, except for the one Warcry warband or whatever that was spectacular looking. I think you're right. I think they got into a weird spot with Fire Slayers where they never received updates in the 10 years that they've existed outside of like a hero.
Now they got to pivot, and try to figure out what to do with it. You know what I think would be cool is if they do this Kozilid hold thing and they pivot and they make a conglomeration army, right? Where it's like classic dwarves, fire slayers, plus a little mix of the two, maybe like a newer thing. That could absolutely be a place where two dwarven named characters that they have in the story right now could absolutely find a home and like a permanent home. Because we had Go Trek release a long time ago that was always in a weird spot because he was like a standalone army on his, by himself that could be taken in any order, and he was way too good, and then he was way too bad, then he was way too expensive, then he was whatever. He needs to find a home because he's not leaving the setting, right? Like there's tons of books about him. He needs to find a place.
He's even got new companions, like in the because Go Trek's long dead, or Felix is long dead, so they've got new companions for him. But I think if they want to leave him as a regiment renowned for some order factions, great.
Sure.
But give him
make him actually be in that army. Right. And I think Gromrindal is another one that if they want to maintain him in the setting, because they gave him a model too. He could absolutely be in that army as well. Like you've got the two leaders of the two different aspects of dwarfs, right? You've got the whole grudging dwarves, that's Gromrindal, and then you've got like the fire slayery side of dwarves, which was Gotrek. They can be the two joint leaders of the Kozilid holds, and then they unite the existing dwarves outside of the pirates and the whatever outside of that they could join the rest of the dwarves and lead that. I think that would absolutely work.
And then I also hope for new named characters. Always do. And rumors are that the Kozilid thing is like end of 4th edition or possibly later. Speaking of having more named characters in Age of Sigmar, also the sub-faction thing that we've talked about, where they're showing these fractures within factions. Well, you realize that also opened the door for them to go farther with Spearhead. So now, like with Slaves to Darkness, now there's two different ones where you have a Chaos Warriors version and a Dark Oath version. They can now do that if they do Kozilid holds. You could now have a whole dwarf spearhead and a Fire Slayer spearhead, just like you have an Iron Jaws spearhead and the Cruel Boys one. I think that's an opportunity for them that they see. That can also let them update each of those sub-factions with a new unit comes out and feature it in a spearhead. But did we hear that ogres might actually get some named?
Yeah, I think they were supposed to get 3.
Finally,
a unique tyrant riding a monster, a unique butcher riding a war machine, and a unique man-eater, a female war master, like a named lady ogre. So we're supposed to get 3 of them, and they fill kind of all the different roles, like foot, monster, and then like chariot kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
that would be great.
That's super cool. And then a generic version of, I think, each of those, at least a new tyrant, which again, it's weird. So a new tyrant is a bizarre choice to me because they got a new tyrant back in 2019, 2020. He was like the tyrant with like the spear and like a hammer, like a tenderizer hammer. But I think they're replacing it similar to how they replaced the White King on Steed for Death Rattle, which was Death Rattle. Now it's the Barrow Legions. They replaced that White King on Steed with a newer kit that was just a White King on Skeletal Steed, a Barrow Lord on Skeletal Steed, whatever it was, because I think that old model didn't. I say old, but that old model didn't fit the aesthetic anymore. I think that's why they retired it. So the Mongolian, like beaten plate sort of look of ogres is a very old-fashioned ogre thing. It's an ancestor ogre look. I'm wondering if they're going to phase out that look in exchange for a newer one, maybe more pelts and stuff.
Matches
instead.
with that
go more huntery instead of being like Mongolian.
Yeah, I could see that. And which that current tyrant model on foot, Magnus from Get Good, painted beautifully for Golden Demon. He got a finalist, didn't win an award though, but looks great. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're retiring the aesthetic, and so they're just like, well, instead of just keeping this around, let's just make a whole new one.
I mean, again the Clan Eshin update is going to include a unique Deathmaster named Crixit. and then a generic Death Master
See, and
assassin.
that's a very specific name, so I don't doubt that.
Right. But they have like one of the only models Ashton has gotten recently is a generic Death Master, where he's like sitting on the pipe and he's got the Ninja Star. He's hanging down below him. You know, that is a generic Death Master. Do we think that model's gonna get retired in exchange for this new one
Already?
I kind of do. You know, like I kind of think that's gonna happen with this too. Is we're gonna lose that Death Master in exchange for a new one. I'm sure it'll look great, but it's so new that it's weird to retire it already.
Well, you know what I wondered as a alternate option, and this is just not based on anything concrete, is if they'll have different types of Death Masters. And so, so I think of it like schools of wizards, or now like for the Tyranids, for example, they have 2 different kinds of prime. So
the Death Master, School of the Shadow versus Death Master School of the Plague or whatever,
right,
School of
like
Poisons.
One that's all about poison and one that's all about,
Okay.
So maybe they'll keep them both and they'll just do slightly different things, slightly different hero things.
This one's got, throwing stars and a dagger, and this one over here has got, the old fashioned weeping blades. It's more combat heavy. It doesn't have any shurikens.
Right. Like look at Maggot Kin of Nurgle. They've got like 2 different mortal heroes on foot and 3 different demon heroes on foot. They're all in a similar class, similar points cost, but they do slightly different. So maybe they'll keep both.
It might be more than that. They have a lot of generic heroes. It's like 3 or 4 different heralds on foot. You've got the fatty with the hammer and the shield. You got the fatty with the axe. You got the fatty with the tentacle arm, the named guy.
Yeah,
and they're all kind of in that same point.
Yeah, and then you got the demon ones. You got the plague ridden. You've got the sloppity biopiper. You got the spoilpox scrivener. So they're all a hero level guy that all does slightly different things. And so they might do that. They might keep them both for that case, because that Death Master, that Death Master isn't old, right? I mean, that might be the new aesthetic.
Yeah, hope so. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting, and I'm all for it. I'm excited. But yeah, I mean, if that's all, this entire giant list is 1 year. That's so much stuff.
That's a lot. For someone like you who collects literally every army,
calm it down.
That's going to be expensive.
Yeah, and like I said, I collect many of these, so that would be something to plan for. That's for sure. So, what else do we have going on? Was there anything in the world of Warhammer 40K?
It's been all Ultramarines all the time. Have been the bulk of the rumors.
We were kind of talking about.
They did that funny little faux protest thing on their website. Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit off camera here about the 500 Worlds story and where that's where that's headed and what that's going to be. Kind of the developments from that in terms of the story and in terms of like the push for Ultramarines to become its own thing.
Yeah.
Because Ultramarines has always kind of been, eye rolling, right? Like you see new stuff coming out for Ultramarines and people are like, oh, more Ultramarines. But it kind of seems like they're getting interesting.
Well, and even when generic models came out for Space Marines, they would always paint them Ultramarines first when they show them to us. And so everyone was like, oh, the boys in blue, the poster boys. But now they're making them lore-wise interesting, and they're expanding their range to really make them feel like one of the Divergent chapters. Like Dark Angels and Space Wolves are good examples who have a wide range of their own models. And now Ultramarines are kind of starting to feel like that's where they're headed. And
well, especially if they're gatekeeping a lot of these new releases to just the Ultramarines chapter. Right, like if Victrix Honor Guard are their own unit for Ultramarines and they don't get a generic version for every other chapter, I mean that makes them even more unique. That makes your Wolf Guard, your
Sword Brethren,
the Dark Angel ones, the Great Sword Dark Angels, like the Crusader dudes,
the inner circle
like those,
guys,
all those, they're all very unique to a specific chapter, and Ultramarines are kind of going that route. Yeah,
and they're giving them a full range of named characters. There could be more in plastic. Some rumors of that Chaplain Cassius will get an update, and because he's been around for a long time. But now you give your army this many different ways to play. story-wise, they've talked about Gilliman wanting to reclaim the 500 worlds of Ultramar from back in his day, and the conflict that that's creating, because it's not the same place it was when he built that empire, and that's what
Right.
it's like, his empire building, which he's not supposed to do right now as commander.
Well, we were talking about the fact that the planets in that 500 have kind of changed hands and changed governments, and they've changed allegiance. I mean, they're all for the Imperium, but what happens when a loyal Imperial governor decides, I don't want to be part of the Ultramar Empire,
right?
The subsect of the Imperial conclave. Like, what happens then? Do the Ultramarines forcibly take over an Imperial planet? That seems a little weird. And to what end, right? Like, what's the purpose of him regathering these 500 planets? Is he going to govern them all? Is he going to have the Ultramarines govern worlds?
Right.
Like, that's unprecedented, right? The Space Marines were always supposed to be this, crusading force that then becomes a standing response army, right? You're not supposed to just plant your flags and take over worlds and govern them and, create your own empire.
They almost always left the governance to human lords and governors, like fleet commanders and stuff. And that was the Emperor's idea, theoretically, was like humans govern humans and his angels protect it. And instead, Gilliman was always adept at kind of empire building on his own. When he was rediscovered, Ultramar was like thriving already. And that's what the High Lords are worried about. That's what a lot of people are worried about, is that he's going to empire build in this sector again, like to protect his own wing. If the maledictum can't be closed, or if something bad happens on either side. And that could create conflict, because like you said, it's like one thing if a planet is in Xenos hands or traitor hands or something, and Gilliman goes in there or one of the Ultramarines is sent in to take it back. Okay, fine. That fits Warhammer. But if it's an otherwise not problematic Imperial world that doesn't want to be a part of the Ultramar sub-empire, is his order just going to be, okay, just like it was in the days of the Crusade, right? The Emperor and the Primarch show up to a planet, and it's a human world that he's trying to unite into the Imperium, and they're like, no, we don't want to be a part of your thing. What happened? They usually just deposed them or killed them and took it anyway, like for compliance sake. Is that what Gilliman's looking to do here? There's also,
we were talking last week about how there are plenty of humans that are loyal to Ultramar and not loyal to Ultramar first before loyal to the Imperium.
Yep.
Right, because they're like, look at Titus's little entourage. We were talking about all the humans that are there, and like there are fleet masters and like humans piloting the ships that are carrying around the Space Marines.
And,
right? But they've got Ultramar symbols, and if the Imperium calls, it was like, hey, we need troops. Send in the Cadians. Like, hey, Ultramar, send your people. They can decide, we don't want to allocate our human reserves
for your problem, right?
To that problem. Like, you can't just call up our humans. They're Ultramar humans. They're not Imperial humans. And then so you get these weird situations where now it's diplomacy within the Imperium, within Space Marine legions. Like, it's, I don't know. I think it's very interesting. Yeah. It creates kind of tension and kind of intrigue and politics within that story that wasn't there before, without actually, having Imperial subfactions fighting one another, literally fighting. They're trying to negotiate now, and you would never have expected that, really, right? Within one Space Marine Legion negotiating with another Space Marine Legion for assistance. It's just like, hey, come help, and they have to help before. Now it's a little trickier.
Yep.
It's interesting.
And that sort of stuff's happening everywhere, because like Gilliman worked closely with Belisarius Cawl both before and after the heresy, and then now, and Call's up to all sorts of stuff that creates division.
We didn't call it heretical. No, it was heretical, but not chaos.
Yeah, he's
kind
like
of the things he's doing.
He is loyal to the Imperium. He's not a traitor but he is doing all of these things with
Right.
the technology he uses, the science he pursues, and everything that are completely heretical.
Xenos technology and studying anti-warp and um, you know, maledict kind of thing, kind of technology, the null system, that's in
One of
place.
the weapons he
Weird.
brandishes comes from like a Necron Pharaon that he killed. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and the minds he has are which is an
Yeah.
AI, not AI, which you're not supposed to have AI, but it's like fully, he calls it call inferior or whatever. But it's there's him doing his stuff, some of which is good. He's got a plan to close Rift, some of which is very bad because he's playing with weird tech.
Mhm.
And drawing the eyes of a lot of very dangerous people like Vastor. Fabius Bile is interested in Call, of course. In fact, Fabius conceded that Call is brilliant, but therefore wants to steal whatever he's up to. So yeah, a lot of this is going on. There's also apparently a story coming where the Lion and Gilliman finally meet. Both of the loyal Primarchs who've woken up for the last 100 years haven't talked to each other.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy that they haven't met yet.
Yeah.
After all this time, and you're both dead, you're both missing, whatever. You both realize that you're both around acting. You're both active in the current events. How does it take this long for you to meet up with each other? Your brother, like, how does it take this long for you to meet back up?
I don't know. I mean, the galaxy's a big place. I don't know if both of them are aware of the other one yet. I don't have that. Someone, if you know, please comment.
Yeah.
But
like you said, galaxy's a big place, so maybe they just hadn't realized that, because apparently the Lion has been operating for a while now, right? He's kind of always just like many of the other Primarchs. They're still active in the story without actually being in the spotlight
and being name dropped, and
yeah. And so maybe it's like Gilliman is back, and like I think the news of Gilliman has to have been spread, right? Like, he's very grand plans to impact the galaxy. I could see the Lion not have, there've been announcements of him being around.
right.
Just like the Green Knight, the King in Yellow, like, these names or these rumors are around, but you don't really know who they are.
Right. But Gilliman's awakening was at the hands of Paul, who is a major player in the Imperium.
Yeah.
He also went to Terra, talked to the High Lords, talked to the Emperor.
Yep.
Like, so he
dropped off reinforcements for tons of different chapters. Yeah. Like, he has to be known, right?
He's known. Yeah. It's known that he's around, but the Lion was a little secretive. Whether or not Gilliman knows, he probably knows, but whether they found the time to, like, if he's texting, "Hey bro, you want to get coffee?" I don't know, but like
90 years later, he gets back to him.
Yeah.
New phone.
New phone. Sorry. SRY.
Yeah.
So in theory, what do you think a meeting with those two would be like? I mean, all this time's passed. They don't still think the way they used to. They don't.
Right.
A lot of those grudges aren't still there.
I don't know. It's weird. I mean, it can't be a friendly reunion, right? It's gotta be tense, right? Like, I think they probably don't meet eye to eye. I think they don't agree on things. Like, the Lion has been around the whole time. Gilliman's been out of it for a while. So it's like, they probably have different views on it. I think Gilliman has an old-fashioned view of the galaxy, and he's going to try to reenact that, because he's from like the Crusade era, right? Like, he was around for a couple thousand years more than the actual heresy, but he's been in stasis for a long time.
Yep.
And so I'm assuming they're not going to agree on things. I think Gilliman maybe doesn't like how dogmatic the galaxy is, but he's using it. Whereas I can see the Lion being really opposed to it. I doubt he likes what's happening with the cult of the Emperor.
I don't think any of the Primarchs like what humanity has become.
Mm-hmm.
Gilliman finds a way to use it. The Lion probably wants to remain removed from it.
Right.
Whether or not the Lion will make big moves, like, reforming a legion and trying to conquer systems, I don't know, or if he's just going to remain the Green Knight hunting things.
Right.
I think he wouldn't. I don't know how much he'd love the idea of Gilliman being Lord Commander, but Gilliman's been that before. I think there's an element of them that would decide they need each other, but what does that look like? And then
Right.
who decides what the other one's role is? And so they're
right. And then what happens when a third loyalist Primarch shows up
right.
and then throws more wrenches in the gears? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, someone like Dorn or Khan or something comes back, Russ, and if it's Russ, there's an issue because now you have someone who is like A, seen the truth about what the Primarchs are, and B, has been in for eons.
Yeah.
What does that look like if he comes back? And then Dorn, well, his last interactions with Gilliman weren't great. They vehemently disagreed with one another on the future of the Imperium back in the Scouring, which we'll find out more now that the book's going to be here in 2 weeks. But I might get that. I might start reading that series as well.
I've been actually thinking about grabbing some of the books and starting to just kind of churn through them because they are getting very interesting now.
Well, I like the Mortal Realms and the game of Age of Sigmar and the models better than 40K. The lore of 40K and the history of it is just so rich. Yeah.
You're allowed to like both.
You're allowed to like both.
You don't have to pick one. That goes out to everybody, by the way. You don't have to like one over the other, and because you like one, you dismiss the other. You can like them all.
Right.
What do you think about like in the call book? They were kind of bringing up the fact that there is another proto Space Marine Primarch kind of guy who's in Call's kind of vicinity, who's a big mystery. He doesn't really have a name. He's just Alpha Primus.
Yeah.
What is your take on him?
Without having read all of it, I don't know, and I could misspeak, but it sounds like it was some proto type that Call worked on. We don't know what its purpose was because the gene sequencing used, where he got the material, what it was designed to do, does not fit a typical Astartes. It might be he tried to fashion a Primarch for himself. They refer to it like it is directly Call's design, Call's offspring, Call's creation, not what Gilliman had envisioned for the Primaris. It's loyal to no chapter. It wears just unpainted gray, silver, whatever armor. He's large. He's bigger than even a Primaris Marine, maybe smaller than a Primarch, somewhere in between there. So probably like the red weight guy for the Carcharodons, like a big. He's stronger, faster, a little more intelligent. He's also highly psychic, but then also partially psyker. No, like he can shield his stuff from other psychers. They say he's in constant pain 24/7, physical and psychological pain all the time. He's never at peace. But yet he has a sense of duty, and so he doesn't just like take himself out. I don't know what his purpose is. What I know is Fabius Bile tried to get Alpha Primus's genetic material or some gland from him. So when even Fabius Bile's interested, like now it's a big deal. What we know is this guy's capable of a lot. There have been elite units sent to kill him. I think he's even fought off Custodes for some reason. Whatever the case is, he's this super soldier that serves Call pretty loyally and yet doesn't think people should trust Call. I don't know enough about it. It makes me want to read Call's series because apparently the more he gets fleshed out, the more no pun intended, the more interesting he is. Kind of like the Necron characters have become fan favorites now.
Yeah.
They've made him more than just beat boop robot guy or whatever. And so now he's super interesting.
Yeah.
And
I'm excited to see where the story goes though. Like it's like we've had plenty of mysteries that are kind of being revealed to be the nature of them, but still creating more questions. I mean, if you follow all the different threads, I mean, you've got the history of the Primaris, you've got the history of the actual Primarchs, you've got what the Grey Knights directive thing was, the King in Yellow, you've got potentially Alfarius still kicking around, and
Yeah.
the twin nature of
Yep.
the twin soul, of Alfarius and Omegon. You've got their non-committal to Chaos or Imperium, and maintaining the galaxy, like that being there. They got all that. There's so many different little threads that we could follow to kind of shape the future narrative that I'm really interested to see which one we follow next.
Well,
Honestly.
and now that also that they've openly in their own articles been like, yeah, there's more than 4 chaos gods, by the way. Like,
yeah. It's like, what? I mean, we've known that, right? We've known that for a long time. And there was I'm pretty sure it was called Malal, Malal.
Yeah.
Was a what was it? The chaos god of something.
Well, we also know there's one that is just simply known as Malice.
Malice. Maybe that was when I was thinking of Malice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even
but I mean, there are other ones out there that are aspects of things that have existed since like the 80s, right?
Yeah.
They've been around for a long time, and they've had maybe some issues with copywriting and stuff, so they've kind of shelved them. But like, it's not new information that there are more gods.
No.
I mean, we saw the great horned rat ascend. We've seen, I mean, we know that kind of in a non-committal way, Vastor, it may be some kind of very powerful chaos entity in the same way that maybe the Primarchs were bound chaos beings, minor chaos gods bound to human form. Maybe Vastor is in a similar type of thing.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. It's very interesting. Like, and I'm sure like every aspect of emotion that there is, it has a negative connotation or a negative emotion, potentially has a chaos god embodying it.
Or there's just some entity, even if it doesn't. And it just sounds like the 4 that we've always known forever. Well, that was probably for simplicity's sake. They're very outwardly expressive, and they wanted to control every entity, every idea that was in the warp. And so that's probably happened. Most of them fell under the service of those 4, but some did not. Some found ways to be needed on their own. I mean, Vastor is literally the Lord of the Forge. Every what's the demon on the arachnid legs, the mechano legs, the soul grinder?
Soul grinder, the other one. Soul grinder was the actual demon.
Yes.
Half demon one. And you've got a defiler, which is a pure like angry robot.
Yeah. And it sounds like every soul grinder Vastor in some way or another was responsible for.
Yeah.
But that's his expertise, is binding demons to machines. The demon makes a pact wanting machine-like immortality. They end up a slave to him ultimately, even if they're like a soul grinder of Tzeentch, but like really the pact was made with him. And then the Chaos Gods have all needed him for stuff at the Forge. But it's funny is his characteristics and what he does sounds an awful lot like Heshut in the Mortal Realms.
Yeah, I mean, demons are fuel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty common motif amongst those types. So we're seeing some parallels and similarities, while different, still kind of similar to one another, and enough so that we can draw kind of some conclusions that, hey, maybe these kind of beings exist in both settings.
Yeah,
it's not just delegated to one or the other. So, I mean, I've also seen some discussion lately about what the nature of being a chaos undivided even means. Mm-hmm. Why do the chaos gods allow someone to fall to chaos but then be undivided?
Right.
It's like, well, maybe they're not. And that's the thing, is we call it that because that's our understanding of it on the surface, right? You're not dedicated to one of these 4, but maybe you are dedicated to something else. Something else is gaining you power that isn't Nurgle, something like that. And I think we might see some payoff to that.
Like we talked about once a few weeks back, the nature of chaos being against itself. And it's like the 4 we know are on the diagonals of the star, and the other ones are on the crosshairs. And it's like, that could mean anything. It could be divided as those 4 and inwardly or moving towards a united purpose as the other 4, but they're lesser. Who knows? But in all, that means chaos is at odds with itself at all times. So I like that they're expanding on it. Even if we don't get all the information, I like that this creates more options for them and for us.
Absolutely. Yep.
Speaking of creating more options, have you advanced on any of your latest kit bashes?
Yeah, I actually did another build. I picked up a second Brood Terror.
Oh yeah. Can you ever have too many
Um,
of those? I don't know.
so I mean, my thought was I was gonna kit bash it and make a more of a cleaner, more like kind of like a gigantic rat ogre out of it. So I actually cut off a lot of its molder bits because so this model has like a master molder kind of grafted into the beast,
Mhm.
and I always hated that. Right? It's like a secondary, like a twin that you kind of half absorbed, kind of hanging like dangling off of you. I hate that. I think it's so gross. So I
It's
completely
like from
cut that
like
guy
Total
off.
Recall when he takes off his shirt and that thing.
Yeah,
Is there?
yeah,
Yeah.
just like that. Yeah, like they got like little homunculus as part of you. No, I don't like it. So I cut that off of this newer one, and I'm gonna give it like a mailed like armored head to make it
Mm.
more like rat ogre as opposed to like Frankenstein monster. Um, and then I was going to use that to be my regiment of renown one, like the prize creation one. For I forget which one is. There's like a wandering trog that it could be. There's a couple that I could use it for, basically. Could be, I mean, it could be a giant, a single giant, stand in. But I've got a little bit of work to do in terms of like plastic sculpting and some green stuffing to kind of fix the parts I cut off. So I was working on that. I got done the Skaven Christmas box plus 5 more acolytes. So I got 10 acolytes put together. That's a Globadiers plus 20 of the new Storm Vermin. Got those all put together. 3 more Giselles, 3 more weapon teams, a master Scryer Arch Warlock. There you go. Got him put together, and then I got the Chariot Gatling gun put together. Another one. I have 5 of those now. I kind of want to run them all together just because I think it'd be funny. They're not particularly good. The weapon team with the Gatling guns are actually more cost efficient than one
Mm.
of the Chariots with the Gatling gun, but I don't care. I think it's funny.
Whatever.
I think it's hilarious. I think it'd be a blast just to run like a heavy, like a very low model count Skaven army. And so
It seems
I can do
possible
that
right now.
now.
If we've learned anything from Age
Yeah.
of Sigmar 4.0 tournament results lately, it's that there are an enormous number of lists that are viable because more of it's now coming down to like the battle tactics and the mission than
Yeah.
than it is just the list itself. That's not to say there's no purpose in list building, but
Right. And there's some inefficient units in every army.
yep.
If you have enough units in your army to be inefficient, I would say that. So some rosters are small enough that you don't have enough options to have multiple builds.
Mm.
Like there is that problem with
Yep.
some, but the armies that have lots of options, you're seeing 2 or 3 good, like really well performing lists per army. That their goals are way different, their strategies way different, but they're still successful. So I love that. I love that idea where it's like you don't have to have like the net list of this army to make it viable. Tau in 8th edition was you run all tanks, you all hammerheads, you bring long strike, you bring all the sky rays, you have very small units that hide and can score objectives. That was your successful army. That sucks. That is so boring that's the only way you can play. I hate single way to play armies that then are called competitive because they have won a tournament. I hate that.
Yeah, and the only list you ever see perform well is that one list with like no variation.
Yeah, the army is not competitive. Then a list for that army is competitive. It's not the same.
Right. Whereas we're seeing some stuff like Gloomspite gets is a great example where they've got Trog heavy lists, Boingrot Bounders heavy lists, and then like
you just go body heavy too, like squigs on foot plus just tons of stabbas to clog up the field. You've got the wolves that are quick. You've got the Doomdiver catapults for long range shooting. Like there's a lot of stuff in that army that can enable different play styles.
Well, and so that to me is saying like when you're like, well, I know this might not be optimal, but screw it, I'm going to build it this way.
Yeah.
It's like, well, You kind of can in Age of Sigmar a little bit, or it will be good shortly. So build it how you want to. I've got some stuff to get on the hobby table here this week. I've got another video I'm going to make about the last Velvet set I haven't reviewed yet. And then hopefully I get to tackle some more personal projects. And then I get to prepare for something I'll make an announcement for maybe on the next episode. But
so you're making an announcement that you're going to make an announcement.
Okay. Yes, I'm pre-announcing.
I'm pre-announcing.
Yeah, this is the pre-order of the pre-order.
Cool. Sweet.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So we'll check back in next week then with whatever else comes up. We got some holidays coming up in a few weeks here, so we might hear some news. I mean, we've got the Grotmas calendar coming up, which should release starting tomorrow, hopefully. And they did specifically say we're not just living in the world of 40K this time around for the Grotmas calendar, because last year we had basically a detachment for every army come out. 24 different armies, 24 different detachments, 24 days in the calendar for Warhammer 40K. And then as like an afterthought, I was like, oh, here, by the way, here's a bunch of like regiments of renown, but apparently the Red Gobbo is going to be visiting the Mortal Realms this year for the Grotmas calendar. So we should see some new cool stuff for that. I'm excited to see what comes up. Yeah, we'll see what's going on.
Yeah, it'll be a veritable casserole of information for 2026.
Hopefully it'll be a buffet.
Buffet.
Yeah. That's buffet is the only French word you know. That's not true. I also know croissant. What was that? I can't remember. That was from.
Whatever.
Anyway,
here's now.
I am getting hungry though. Speaking of buffet, so
I don't know if we'll do a buffet or a casserole, but I could eat something.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Till next time.